if you want to be able to give in any fashion, you must first have something to give. And if you don't have anything stored, then you can't give anything.
One of the things we hear about in popular culture is the unfilled cup or the overflowing cup. You see it in the movies, you see it in representations of well, really of all many Eastern philosophies. But what does Taoism have to say about the filled cup?
Well, first let's take a little side historical jog, and that is Zen is a derivation. That's popular with Zen, and Zen is a derivation of Chan Buddhism. And Chan Buddhism came about from an interaction between Buddhism and Taoism. I forget the exact century, but it doesn't occupy the same revered place as a metaphor or an analogy that it would in Zen. However, the concept is there. But as with most things Taoist, it's a more complex concept. So,
okay.
Basically, there are two directions or two ways of thinking of filling. First, let's deal with it as a more positive attribute. If, let's say, you have a vessel, so it doesn't have to be a cup.
Yeah.
And again, the reason it's a teacup within Japan is that you have the tea ceremony and the status of tea drinking. So within Taoism, it's a vessel, oftentimes actually a gourd. And
the gourd.
Yeah, the gourd is the common status component, a simply crafted natural device. So if your gourd is full, you can pour more out of it for others. That's it. But if your gourd is empty, you can't pour anything out of it for others. So you have nothing to give.
It's I think I've heard a Western analogy is filling the well. Like you have to care for your own self before you can.
Yeah, and the well metaphor is actually quite common within practice. It's common within the alchemical traditions, within Qi traditions, within meditative traditions, especially when it comes to the well of yin, other factors that. And so if you want to be able to give in any fashion, you must first have something to give. And if you don't have anything stored, then you can't give anything. Now, so that's one basic and straightforward way of thinking about it, which would kind of be the opposite of what's really meant by the Zen statement of the filled or unfilled cup. So
it's a more altruistic, or it's a more community perspective than individual perspective.
Yeah, and it's one of for the ceremonial or ritual lower levels of Taoism, you get about as codified as you can with Taoism is the idea of compassion and providing service or caring for others. And so that would be a metaphor that would be used in that discussion, is basically to sit back and go, well, you really shouldn't be pouring out the last bit from your gourd if you result in not having any liquid for yourself. And
for yourself or for anybody else. Self-care is crucial.
So that would be one interpretation of it.
Yeah.
And then you have the flip side, which would be the more Zen aspect of, which is essentially, if you're already filled up with perception or bias, you can't put in something new.
Right.
And this is primarily used in a teaching context or a learning context.
Of course.
And so-
okay, so we could visualize the master telling this parable to students as a way of advancing their education.
Yeah, you know, the difficulty is in that circumstance, if you already believe you're right, and everybody believes they're right, even if they don't think that they're right. Meaning that if your face says that, oh, I'm not right, I'm always wrong, well, you believe you're right about being wrong.
Oh my God,
right?
that's great.
So-
yes.
And that has to do with, you know, what type of information is enough for you to cause a change in what your perception is. And that you can express as an idealism. And the reason I say it's an idealism is, let's say you do have a filled cup, you do have a particular self-perception
Yeah.
or perception about a particular thing. Can you actually just toss it away?
Whew.
And the answer is like, no, you can't. It's an idealism. And because if we could just toss things away, we would instantly and immediately and durably change, and that's not what happens.
No, it's a deep part of every idea we hold is a deep part of our identity.
But with a metaphor, it kind of points out to us repeatedly that, well, we need to be willing to let a thing go and allow something in that's new, not to completely empty a particular thing in an idealistic fashion in one gesture, and then you're available to be filled by a particular thing. And that also, of course, if we want to take our concept of accuracy, who is it or what is it that's going to be filling that cup, and how active are you in that process? And with Taoism, you should be very active in that process, because you're ultimately responsible for you and your own self-creation.
Yeah.
You're there to create your own life, and you're there to create your own self. You're not there to hand it off to somebody else. And how or why is this? Well, the how and why is that the only person that can really spiritually advance you is you. It's great to have positive influences, and it's great to have a knowledgeable human influence, but ultimately it boils down to you and the Tao, you and the great reality, and you two interacting. If they say, well, the Tao will pour into blah, 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 well, the Tao will certainly provide you with the opportunity, but it's not like it's ignorant of what the human process is. Human process is kind of known even by humans, so if you take the great awareness and power of the Tao, is it going to be aware of, you know, what this little human can tolerate or how it absorbs information? Well, more than likely. We're not exactly a mystery. And we repeat the same patterns over and over again.
But excuse me, but it's true that the Tao would honor our own decisions, and if we want to not allow space in our gourd for new information,
then that's what you've chosen.
yeah, that's because we're part of that cycle.
Yeah. And, you know, it boils down to choice is one of the fundamental components of the universe. That's how the universe is built and designed. And so the Tao would be violating its own structure, its own chosen structure, in order to achieve an end of dubious value, you know.
Yeah.
And the question would be, well, why would that occur, and how would that occur?
How would it?
Are the fundamental rules of the universe going to be rewritten so your Joe walking over here can be forced into understanding this or that? And as you start looking at it, it suddenly becomes preposterous.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's excellent to explore. And as you start following the things intellectually, you realize, yeah, that would be kind of preposterous. It is up to me to engage, and it is up to me to process and choose to process that information And either I'm going to do it or I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it really is my gourd, and it could be seen as a metaphor for choice. It's like, it's not the right or the wrong, it's just what you choose. Are you okay with not having space for new development, or are you ready to receive some new development? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that hits it right on the head.